When I heard about the 20 strong system, I was really skeptical about the implementation of Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones is my favorite game of all time, and I had one question. How many of the bones could they actually fit in this tiny, tiny box? If you're curious about that as well, stick around. We're going to dive into kind of what this game is doing relative to the other decks. How is it different? And is it implementation something in which Bones fans are going to appreciate and love just as much as the base game? So first, let's start with the goal of this game. Similar to the base game, you want to level yourself up. Every single gear lock has 3 stats associated with it. It starts with those baseline stats, and as you move throughout the game, you want to level those up as much as possible. You're also trying to acquire items, unlock loot. You're trying to get through as many tyrant encounters as possible because it will make your subsequent tyrant battle, which is the end all goal, so much easier. The game starts with a stack of 1-point baddies, a stack of 5-point baddies, and your encounter stack, all of which can be scouted for a cost. And each and every day you're going to your encounter stack and either choosing the scouted card above or the face-up card on the encounter stack. With the aforementioned tyrant battles, it is a must battle. There is no choice, and there is typically kind of a nasty modifier there. Then there's the Molnor encounter that does give you a choice between a battle option and a non-battle option. All the battle options do deal with the BQ baddie points, similar to the base game. It's equal to the day that you're in. That day counter goes up encounter after encounter. One thing that makes this Too Many Bones implementation a little bit unique is you have to defeat all of the baddies that have been activated. That day number essentially will determine the number of 1-point and 5-point baddies you have to face. And after a successful encounter, you can scout a baddie or an encounter by placing it above the core deck. So then you have 2 options the next time you are to activate any of those, or you can add +1 to your health. You may come across lockpick encounters. There's no battle associated with those. Those go into your inventory as an item, and you have to place color coordinated hits on there instead of on an enemy to eventually unlock it, similar to loot in the core game. Some of the loot has powerful effects, others are backup plan extensions, which we'll talk about in just 1 second. But engagement is where that 20 strong system comes in and works like basically every other deck out there. You're committing a number of dice, you are rolling them, you're applying them, and those misses, similar to Bones in the base game, can go into a backup plan. That backup plan has 2 uses. It will activate a special ability on your gear lock card, or if you have all 4, you can spend them to, similar to the base game, flip your gear lock to the innate +1 side and your ability gets better. And once you've exhausted all of your strategy attempts, you have to go into the resolve phase, suffer the damage, the after effects printed on any of those cards. You have to exhaust dice, recover dice equal to your recovery stat, gain the item rewards on the baddies you defeated, and discard only the baddies that you've defeated. You cannot move on to the next day until everything is defeated. And if not defeated, you have to rinse and repeat and go attempt another strategy phase. And if defeated, you get the aforementioned rest or scout option, increase the day counter by 1, and move on to the next encounter. This deck comes with 5 gear locks. Every gear lock has a different innate and innate +1, also has a different backup plan. They also have different stat numbers, just like every other 20 strong deck. The gear locks are a mixed bag. I do have 3 favorites though. Duster's innate is just all around good. In the damage step, if there's 2+ active enemies, which happens often, even if defeated, reduce the damage suffered by 1. That could be huge. There are some pretty big damage stats out there. And the backup plan, during activation, adjust the BQ +1 or -1. That can absolutely come in handy if you want to get from having to face 4 1-points to 1 5-point. And then Nugget, good old Nugget. Everyone loves Nugget here. You may treat immediate rewards as one-time use rewards, so you can slot them in as items, keeping them in your inventory. Sometimes when you have those immediate effects, you really can't use them, or they're not really beneficial to you at that particular moment. So that is important. And then the backup plan during the commit dice step, unapply a die on a defeated baddie, placing it with your other unapplied dice. That is huge. That gives you another opportunity to use that die. And in my mind, the absolute GOAT of 20 strong Too Many Bones is Patches. Innate is recovery. At the start of each battle, +1 heart. That's huge. If your heart is reduced in the suffer damage step, you may recover your weakest die. That is so cool. Like any extra recovery is good, especially if you're having to take any sort of damage there. Backup plan is E-cells during the applied dice step. Change a hit to a crit on unapplied dice of the color matching the die exhausted from your backup plan. So you're just matching the die as you exhaust it and turning something into a crit. So in my mind, Patches is the GOAT, the absolute best. So in general, the 20 strong system rocks. If you've watched the other reviews, I've said that every time. I'm really excited about where this system is going and what Chip Theory was going to do with it. The big question is, how does the implementation feel of Too Many Bones, especially to a veteran Bones player, one in which that really loves the game? I will first say that this deck is fun. I really appreciate what they've done here. And I think if Hoplo and Solar Sentinels didn't exist, I might be judging this a little bit differently. I think the effort got 75% of Too Many Bones in here, where Hoplo was a little bit higher for me. Many concepts like innate powers and backup plans and days and encounters and tyrant encounters and tyrants, like all of that stuff is here, and it definitely gives you those feelings of Too Many Bones. However, the thing that I love about Too Many Bones is this feeling of character progression, which is there up to an extent. You are, to be fair, you are getting items, you're upgrading stats, you're upgrading to an innate +1. So much of my love for Too Many Bones is wrapped up in the professions and training of skill dice, not just stat increases. In fact, that's the most boring part of the game for me. I like to feel powerful and have those awesome dice to roll these really incredible skills that create really awesome combos. That's not here. Like all of the other games, there's no strategic movement, which is fine. That's a critique on all of them. And for, a card game, I fully expect that. And it might not be fair in comparing, oh gosh, I don't even want to say on camera how much I've spent on Too Many Bones, to a $20 deck of cards. I hope it doesn't get everything in this deck of cards. I don't think it could possibly. I think what's been accomplished and put into a $20 deck is pretty darn awesome. If you've never played Too Many Bones before and you want a entry into the world that gives you a general idea of what it feels like, I think it's $20 well spent. It's not quite $20. Let's be fair. You have to buy the base with all of the dice, but the individual deck is 20 bucks, and it's pretty incredible what they've been able to do. I feel like it suffers from a lack of variety relative to some of the other decks. I think the variety is lacking a little bit. There's less kind of in-game bosses, or in this case tyrants. There's many less heroes, or in this case gearlocks. And the gearlocks in particular, I feel like 3 of the 5 are really good. The other 2 are kind of forgettable, and that's just for me. I think my critique at the end of the day comes from somebody that loves all of their time spent in this world in a much bigger, broader, giant, heavier, more expensive game. I think my experience is akin to somebody that their favorite book is translated to a movie, and they're just set up from failure from the very beginning, where they know and love every teeny tiny aspect of this much larger production, and when it gets translated to a much smaller container, there's definitely things that are going to be lost. And another person that's sitting right next to you in that movie theater that sees the same movie, that has never read the book, can absolutely love it, and you walk out of there a little disappointed that a few things were missing. And at the end of the day, does this replace Too Many Bones for me? Absolutely not. I will choose to play Too Many Bones every single time over this. However, there is another deck that might not be the case. You're gonna have to check out one of these videos to see which one that is. And on that note, I appreciate you being here. I'm out of here.